All set, Mary Rose?
We are all set to go.
Great. Good evening, everybody. This is Chairman Magnin. I'd like to call to order the July 19th public hearing and regular meeting of the Inland Wetlands Agency. Lisa, please call the roll.
Daniel Bedecker,
Here.
Jim Connors,
Here.
Dave DeFlameri,
Here.
Heather Donaldson Gladue,
Here.
Steve Munson,
Here.
Lisa Tryon,
Lisa, we don't hear you.
Brendan Magnin.
And I'm here. Thank you. Could I ask everyone to unmute themselves and stand for the pledge, and then I'll go over the procedures and the explanation of the rules.
Second, sorry. Pledge allegiance
to the flag
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
For
for which it stands,
One
one
nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
with liberty
and justice.
and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. If everyone could mute themselves, we will now proceed, and I will go over the rules of order. In continuation of the executive orders of Governor Lamont and the Freedom of Information Act, this recording will be made available on the City of Milford website. It is being broadcast on YouTube as we speak. During this meeting, if anyone from the applicant team or from the members of the public or would like to be recognized by the chair, please use the raise your hand feature on Zoom so that you can be sequenced into the conversation. Once recognized by me, please state your name and address before making any statements, and only speak to the jurisdiction of the Milford Inland Wetland Agency. As for the rules for this public hearing, it is the same protocol as the public hearing held on June 21st and July 5th, except for the fact that this hearing is being kept open for review of the following information and the following information only. The engineering for parking and stormwater treatment, and the soil and erosion and cross-section lighting plan for alternative 2, and the report of established trees in the proposed northern parking lot that would need to be removed. So again, this evening, that's the focus of this public hearing. That's why we as an agency continued the public hearing for this evening for 0, 305, and 325 subway. Thank you everyone for joining and for your interest in the process. Let me just skip down. Please consider that we have a limit of 5 minutes on anyone speaking, and that this is a back and forth, not a back and forth, and the applicants and their consultants will address the public's questions during their review. May I hear a motion to hear IW 23028, IW 23029, and IW 23030 together?
Make that motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. Lisa, roll call vote, please.
Daniel Bedecker,
Aye.
Jim Connors,
Aye.
Dave DeFlameri,
Aye.
Heather Donaldson Gladue,
Aye.
Steve Munson,
Aye.
Lisa Tryon,
Aye.
Julie Valvo,
Aye.
Brendan Magnin.
Aye, the motion carries unanimously. Before I pass it over to Mary Rose for a review of some additional information, I'd like to open it up for confirmation from any commissioners that were not at the July 5th meeting who would like to acknowledge that they have familiarized yourselves with the hearing, and that you've reviewed the recording, so that you can continue with the deliberation.
Done that.
I did.
Great.
I have done as well.
Thanks. Let the record reflect Commissioner Donaldson Gladue, Commissioner Connors, and Commissioner Munson. Thank you very much for reviewing that 3-hour testimony. Mary Rose, do you want to summarize the information before I turn it over to the applicant?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. At our last meeting, the agency had requested that the hearing be held open for the following information so that it could be submitted for review. The engineering for the parking and stormwater treatment, the storm sedimentation and erosion controls, and cross-section and lighting plan for alternative number 2. How many established trees in the proposed parking area would need to be removed, and that information, along with the city engineer's review, are in the document links.
Great, thank you, Mary Rose. Is there anything else you'd like to add before I turn it over to the applicants?
No, we have had no submittals from the public as of 4:30 this afternoon, and no requests to be in any certain order for talking in the affirmative or against.
Thank you, Mary Rose. And again, just as a reminder for the public, we will first call for any members who would like to speak in opposition, then those who'd like to speak in favor, then those who'd like to speak neither in opposition nor in favor. And again, we're only permitting conversations on the new information that we're about to receive. So with that said, Mr. Crusaden, I'm going to turn it over to you to guide us through your additional presentation that you may be your team may be presenting this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the agency and staff. For the record, Kevin Crusaden, 3 Lafayette Street, representing the applicant. With me tonight is the applicant, Mr. Bob Cinto, and his son, Robert. Also with us is William Kenny, our soil scientist, Pat Rose, and the architect, and Manny Silva, the project engineer. Just as a brief summary, I had a meeting with Mary Rose, the city engineer, and Manny Silva last week. Manny and Greg were meeting to go over the engineered plans for the second alternative. I think that was the guidance we had received from the agency at the end of the last hearing. Since that time, Manny has provided Mr. Podleski with that information, and he has in turn provided a letter to your agency and to staff with his comments on that letter. I believe we've satisfied Mr. Podleski's concerns. I would ask that Mr. Silva and Mr. Kenny, first Mr. Silva, maybe just give a brief summary of anything that's happened with respect to those plans and that conversation with Mr. Podleski that he thinks is relevant. And then Bill Kenny has some questions that and information he's also going to present, and answer some questions and present some information. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Crusaden. Mr. Silva, you have the floor.
Good evening, Chairman and Commissioners. This is Manny Silva from Rose Tizo and Company. This is project engineer at 35 Brentwood Avenue, Fairfield, Connecticut, representing the applicant, and also Rose Tizo and Company. I'm going to try to share. I need the host to let me screen share here. All right, thank you. So the things that we talked about with the town engineer and Mary Rose were 2 things. One was the alternative to have the parking lot here in the southwest corner versus having it and preserving the wetland, and then having a mitigation area where the existing wetland area is. So what we did was we actually pulled away we removed 4 spaces from this wooded area so it could be left as wooded in this area, even though the tree line still shown coming back, but it's actually we put a retaining wall here so that this could all be natural here prior to after the retaining wall. We put those 4 spaces over here where there was where the existing building is, so that's not replacing any kind of wooded area or any kind of resource to the wetland. In fact, we're just getting rid of this building here, so, and making this a green area. Another thing we was asked was to add multiple signs that snow is not to be pushed or stored in any of these areas here near the wetlands. And we put a do not push or place snow here signs in those areas. We also pulled back some grading that was here in this corner. As you can see, we did a section here. So now there's going to be 2 blocks of gravity wall, and then the natural grade will goes down towards the existing wetland line, kind of similar to what the existing parking lot or paved area does today, as the pavement terminates here, and then there's a slope down to the wetlands. Again, we have no grading or any kind of disturbance in this area now due to us putting in similar probably 2 or 3 blocks of gravity wall and then having the parking adjacent to that wall. Another thing was that we should add riprap discharge to protect any kind of erosion from this overflow that we have here for the pond in this area. We added a riprap swale in this area here. And then Mary Rose asked us for a section here, which is the ice rink is here. Their property is higher than us. And then there's that 2-to-1 slope that's currently there today. And then we have our driveway. So it's basically going to mimic the slopes that we have here coming from the ice rink, except our driveway is going to be cutting down slightly so that we can meet grade here by the back and not have a lot of or have any fill in this back corner, so we meet the elevations that are naturally there today. So this driveway is going to come down around and then come back up. Trying to think. And then in the next slide here, we have some details that the town engineer wanted us to add for the hay bale check dams that are going to be at these discharge points, these existing discharge points, and this new one here. To protect any kind of discharge that's coming out of the system, even though we have silt sacks and a treatment train. Even then, at the point of discharge, we'll have these hay bale check dams to protect from any erosion going into the wetland area, adjacent wetland area. Another thing is we updated our lighting plan. This is a color version. And you can see we have 3 20-foot poles here. Yep. And they have full cutoff. So you see there's 2-foot candles to the front of them, but behind is 0.1. Right behind them.
Mr. Chair,
Go.
Manny,
Yep.
we're not seeing the color plan.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's right. Zoom doesn't let you share the whole screen, just individual programs. So here it is. Here's the colored. Again, it's just a colored version. You have the black and white in your packet. Of the lighting plan, we have 3 poles here. As you can see, there's 2-foot candles, more or less, within the paved area. And then just behind it and outside, it's going to be 0.1. Again, these 4 spaces were eliminated, so these won't be there. It's just that this was a version prior to meeting with the town engineer that I sent out to the lighting engineer. Again, as you can see, the wetlands are all 0.0. There's no light spilling into the wetland area. And I'm going to show you the detail of the cut sheet of the fixtures, which I think is in your package too, but if not, I'll show it to you right now. I'm going to do this again here. Screen, share this guy. And that'll go away in a minute. So you can see they're just flat blade LEDs. And then So the actual LEDs are inside the housing here within, so there's no opportunity for the light to spread outside of any area that we don't have it actually directed to. And again, I could pull up that website. Here's the house side shield, which is what's going to stop the light from propagating into the wetland area. It casts a shadow straight down below the fixture itself, and there's no light coming behind the fixture itself. That's kind of like a standard practice. As you can see there, once you have the house side shield, the area behind it is very sharp, and you can actually direct those shields so that they go left to right. But in our case, we're just going to put the shield on the backside like that. I think that was everything that we had to talk about. I think those were the main points. Again, the soil erosion control plans to help control any kind of discharge into the wetlands during construction. And then we have our treatment train, basically the same system. The only thing is that we added a catch basin here to pick up the water that's coming off of this parking lot, and that connects into the same basins that were in the previous option, and then they go into the gallery system, which are exactly the same as what was in the other alternative. The only thing that's not there is the galleries that were going to supplement the volume that was being stored by this wetland, but now we're leaving the wetland in place, and then we're actually expanding that wetlands area by digging it down to the same elevation as the wetland is currently today. I think I'll turn it over to Bill. I think he has some additional stuff based on this alternative. If there's no other questions for me.
Thank you, Mr. Silva. Mr. Kenny, you have the floor.
Good evening. Bill Kenny, Principal William Kenny Associates. I'm a professional wetland scientist, soil scientist, and landscape architect. Since the last meeting, there's been two primary things that we focused on. One was updating our drawings to reflect changes made by Rose Tizo that Manny just reviewed with you. So I can show you that in a second. And then the second thing was we did we went back to the property and reviewed the forested area that parking lot is proposed in the northwestern part of the property. So I have some information about that. I'm going to share my screen and show you the drawing updates that we made. I'll start. We added one new drawing. This drawing is on the eastern part of the property. We have a map in the top right-hand corner that shows you where this drawing is, but it's on the eastern end of the property. Where a plunge pool or bioretention basin is, and the city engineer asked for a planting plan for that area. So we were proposing planting in the basin and adjacent to it. And that was in the areas Manny had described where the current building is right in that area. So we're proposing beyond the proposed parking lot to restore a forest habitat in there where it abuts the Mondo Pond open space area. So we just have that planting for that eastern part of the property. One second. Here we go. I'm gonna show the other drawing now. So this is just a newer version of the drawing that we reviewed with you at the last meeting. And this is the alternate design that Manny was just discussing, where the existing wetland is to be preserved. The majority of it will be preserved, will be enhanced, and will be expanded. So the wetland will be bigger, and the habitat will be significantly enhanced through the planting of native trees and shrubs and ground covers. And we're actually proposing 74 trees to be planted in this area. And then to the north of that, is the proposed parking lot. And as Manny had described, the last time we were before you, there were 4 parking spaces on the east side of the parking lot. And Manny took a closer look at this and removed those spaces. And now there's a retaining wall along the edge of that parking lot rather than grading a slope. So we're able to pull back the amount of disturbance to the forest quite a bit in that area. So we're preserving even more forest, more buffer to the wetland that's to the right, to the east. Nonetheless, we are still proposing an evergreen tree screen between the parking lot and the forest there to help mitigate for sunlight. That would be more sunlight reaching the forest floor with the removal of the trees in this area. So we, in addition to modifying this drawing, we went back to the property and we reviewed trees that were 12 inches or larger in size, DBH 12 inches or larger, and found that there are about 38 trees that are 12 inches or larger through this area. Nearly half of those are beech trees, about 45% are beech, 31% are tulips. And you have some sweet birch and some black oak, and the total is 38. So we'll be planting twice as many trees with the wetland enhancement and expansion work that we're proposing to the south of that. And one other thing I wanted to point out was that the beech trees, which are the dominant trees, many of them or all of them are infected with that beech leaf disease, which is a fairly new thing in our area. It started in Ohio. It was first detected in Ohio back in 2012 and has slowly made its way east and arrived in Connecticut in 2019. It's a nematode, small insect that lives in the bud of the tree, and it overwinters there. And when it significantly impacts the leaf production that the tree has, and so either the leaves are very limited in size or don't even leaf out at all, and so that reduces the photosynthesis that the trees have, and so the trees are under significant stress. This is being studied very closely by many universities and state agencies around the northeastern part of the country, but they're unfortunately finding that the saplings have a mortality within 2 to 5 years, and mature trees will last longer than that in general, but it's unclear how much longer they're going to last and how this might affect the forests in the Northeast. So it's unfortunate to have that happening in the Northeast, and that's a significant factor condition within this forest area where we're proposing to put the parking lot. Nearly half the trees there are the beech trees, and pretty much all of them have this condition, this disease that is significantly impacting their health and could lead to their mortality in the next couple of years. Please to answer any questions that you might have. I think, Mr. Chairman, I think you're muted.
Thank you, Mr. Kenny. Yeah, for now, we'll ask if you have anything else to present. Otherwise, we'll open it up for members of the public to speak in opposition. Mr. Krusaden, do you have anything else to present tonight that's new? Any additional new information?
No, that's the extent of the additional new information. We thank the agency for their time and consideration.
Great, thank you. At this time, I'd like to invite anyone from the public who would like to be identified as speaking in opposition and would like to speak on the information that was presented this evening. Please raise your hand.
Mr. Chairman, I believe Diane Pryor had raised her hand.
Great. Ms. Pryor, you have the floor.
Hi, everybody. First, I want to thank the agency for all the work that you're doing. I know this has been a long, drawn out project. And I know that you're all volunteers, and we really appreciate the work you're doing. And what I'm looking at right now is obviously the plans are new to me. So, but from what my notes that I'm seeing are that I'm still very concerned that this natural watershed area is going to be changed no matter what. And with the removal of the trees, and I had this question the last time as well, with the removal of the trees, even planting new trees, unless full-grown trees are being planted, the root systems that are already there are going to be probably wither and die. And I would assume with no trees there, what is the plan for that? Because then we have no root system to filter the wetlands, and we have no root system that's continuing to hold the earth below that together. So how do we resolve that?
Okay. Any additional concerns that you'd like to raise at this time? Thank you for your earlier sentiments, Ms. Pryor. Anything additional that you'd like the applicants to come back and address in their rebuttal?
I have to stick directly to just this, correct?
Yes.
Okay, then I'm done. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that's interested in speaking against the application? Moving on to anyone speaking in favor? And anyone from the public that's wishing to speak in the unclassified category, neither opposed nor against. I'm sorry, neither opposed nor in favor. Okay, I'm going to turn it back over to Mr. Crusaden for you to guide us through the response to the concerns that were addressed by Ms. Pryor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to Ms. Pryor. Believe that would probably be best answered by Mr. Kenny, our soil scientist.
Sure, pleased to address that. I'm going to bring up the drawing again.
Thank you, Mr. Kenny. I think it's a very good question. Just want to make sure everyone understands the design to address their concerns.
So we're discussing right now, well, actually, there's a green dashed line running up and down on the page here. That's the limit of the woodland today. Any area to the left of that is maintained as lawn along the road. So it's this area of the parking lot. And there certainly there's trees with their root systems, and they are providing a filtering effect, and they're protecting the soil from erosion there today. With the removal of those trees and the introduction of the paved parking lot, the pavement will protect the soil from erosion. So, and you add also the retaining wall on the right-hand side of the parking lot. So the potential for erosion is pretty much, there's no potential for erosion with a paved surface like that. But however, the water management for water quality and water filtering, that's a very good point and a very good concern. But the project, as was discussed last week, there is the stormwater management plan, and that includes a very modern system to collect water and clean the water and hold the water. So it cleans it to ensure that it doesn't pollute the wetlands. It holds it back to ensure that flooding doesn't occur downstream. And then it slowly releases it through infiltration systems that slowly releases it into the underlying soil, where it gets filtered as it goes through the soil. And then eventually it filters down until it hits where there's groundwater, and then it moves laterally with the groundwater to the wetlands and is slowly released to the wetlands. And by then it's been cleaned and cooled. And according to many studies that have been done and regulations that the state and the town and the city have, this is the accepted way to manage stormwater on a property like this and ensure that the wetlands are protected. So that stormwater system replaces the filtering of the trees.
And Mr. Kenny, do you want to talk about the sort of design of the retention wall and the, not so much the engineering design, but the essence of, all of those trees that would be installed are going to be, I suppose they're going to have a function of stabilizing the slope over time.
The new trees in the existing
Sorry.
wetland area?
Sorry, in the parking area on the,
Oh, okay. Yes, there are. That's true. We're adding deciduous shade trees or canopy trees to the left of the parking lot, and there are 4 within the parking lot, but then those are deciduous trees that'll grow to be very large over time. And along the northern edge of the parking lot and the eastern edge is where we're proposing spruce trees that provide as help to mitigate the changes in solar exposure along the edge of the woodland when you take down the trees that are in the area where the parking lot is proposed. So be placing evergreen trees along the edge to help shade the areas of the forest beyond to the right and to the top or to the north of the parking lot.
and would you, just as a follow-up to that, I'm just kind of reading into the question, would you imagine that those perimeter trees along the retaining wall of the parking lot, as you're proposing, would that create some kind of stabilization effect in the event of any kind of extreme weather, extreme rain, events that maybe we might incur during construction or after?
They'll provide very good soil stabilization. I don't expect any soil erosion issues in the area where those trees are being planted. Once they're established, in the first year you have to monitor it, and but once they become established, they'll stabilize and prevent erosion all on their own.
Thank you, Mr. Kenny. Okay, hearing that, is there anything else you'd like to add, or shall we open it up for additional testimony from the public? And then after that, we'll open it up for questions for the agency. Okay, is there anyone from the public that would like to raise a question, additional question, or any additional concerns? Okay, seeing none, just going to have a final call for any public inquiries that haven't been addressed. This is your opportunity. Yes, Ms. Pryor.
Sorry, can I just respond to what was just put out there?
Indeed. You may.
Okay. And it's really just very brief, but I'm not an environmental scientist. I'm a social worker, but it just seems to me that there's an awful lot going on here that is to compensate for leaving the trees alone and just leaving them in their natural state. It's a lot of trouble to kind of try to redo nature right in that spot. So I don't know. I understand there's 3 different plans and that everybody's been looking at them, but it just seems like so much trouble to do that rather than just leaving the trees alone. That's all.
Thank you for your testimony, Ms. Pryor. Mr. Crusaden, would you like to comment on that at all?
I could ask Mr. Kenny to, I guess, reiterate the percentage of trees that are going to be, that would be impacted if this was approved and this was the version that was chosen with the beech leaf disease. I don't know, maybe he could just reiterate that, what we're talking about as far as what's healthy trees there and what's not right now.
Go ahead, Mr. Kenny.
Sure, and I also would like to put it speak to the context of this hearing this evening, and that being the wetland agency and the regulations with regard to wetland protection, that this parking lot, through careful consideration and planning and communication with your agency and the public and the staff and the city staff, we went through this process where initially we had direct impacts to the wetland. We were going to lose that in the entire wetland that's south of this parking lot. And so through careful review and design, we've been able to preserve the majority of that wetland area and enhance it and expand it. And that means that we're working in this upland forest, but within the context of your regulations and your charge, it's my understanding that you have to put the wetland area above the non-wetland area. And so I do believe that that's been achieved with this concept, and that there are other alternatives, and we've discussed these at the previous meetings, but I do believe this one fits within your charge best. And so there's that point, and then the point that Attorney Kersaden mentioned, that that the nearly half of the trees in that area are severely impacted right now, and may die within the next 5 to 10 years. We can't say for sure. It's a new disease, but it seems to be having a significant impact on our beach forests.
Thank you, Mr. Kenny. We appreciate your expertise. At this time, I'd like to open it up for agency members who may have additional questions based on the new information this evening. Again, questions on just the new information we received this evening. Commissioner Tryon.
Thank you very much. So we've been taking a look at 3 different plans, all regarding the way that the parking moves around. Is there a possibility that there is a 4th option that actually addresses the footprint of the building? That if the building were altered, there would be less of an impact on the wetlands, both on that property and on the surrounding property. So I'm just asking if there's an option number 4.
Mr. Kersaden, would you like to entertain that question?
Sure. Yes, Mr. Chair. I wasn't sure if you wanted to answer them directly at the time of the question. I will answer briefly, and then I'll ask Mr. Cinto if he has any further comments on that. We did discuss that internally and then at previous meetings, and with the identified end user, it's the size of the structure that is that's driving the design and their required space and size for the structure and their use. So we have not been able to, that would not be a possibility to reduce the square footage of the footprint of the warehouse. But I'll ask Mr. Cinto if he has any further comments on that.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. The tenant actually wanted a larger building on this site. We told them this is the best we can do and keep the wetlands as intact as possible. So we looked at it, and this plan will meet his requirements, but we can't make it any smaller at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cinto. Yeah, I would just sort of respond with the guidance from the perspective of, the question is fair, but it's also fair to say we've discussed a number of options in the prior hearing. So we're really, unless there's any other questions on the new information, that would be a discussion that we could entertain in the deliberation, Ms. Tryon. But we did explore a number of options in the first 2 public hearings, and even in the preliminary sessions that Mary Rose had with the applicant. Mr. Bedeker, I'll give the floor to you.
Commissioner Bedeker, Milford. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, this my concern of the last meeting was the number of trees that the new parking lot was going to replace. I found it interesting the news about the disease to the beech trees. And I could see that plans have been made to mitigate the loss of those trees, not only in the new enhanced wetlands area that's already there, but on the east side of the building. So I think they have the plans have sort of alleviated my concerns about alternate 2, the parking lot on the north side of the driveway. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bedecker, for your observation. Any questions of the applicant? If there are no questions from the agency, we can entertain a motion to close the public hearing and move into a deliberation.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion on the floor from Commissioner Ledoux to close the public hearing. Do I have a second on the motion?
Second.
We have a second from Mr. DeFumeri. Any further discussion on the motion? My
Through
only
you, Mr.
I'm
Sorry,
sorry, go
Mr.
ahead.
Chair, I just want to clarify. Once we close the hearing, we are making a decision on the information that we have before us. So I want to be sure that everybody has everything they need. Further discussions will just be between your staff, me, the city engineer. There's no more interaction with Mr. Kenny or Mr. Silva.
Correct. That was exactly what I was going to clarify. So
Sorry.
no problem. Again, Mr. Bedecker, would you like to discuss the motion?
Actually, I was going to make a comment. It looked like Mr. Platt was trying to raise his hand there before the public hearing was closed.
Yeah, well,
Yes,
So-
I have a question just about orientation, and this is neither for or against. I am a little bit confused as to where are the Mondo ponds in relation to this property?
okay. Let me just say this. We're in discussion on a motion, so I will say that the Mondo ponds as presented on the public hearing in the first meeting on June 21st and July 5th are in the adjacent property. They're not on the application's property itself. Okay. So we have a motion on the floor. Do we have any discussion on the motion? Any further discussion? Hearing none. Lisa, roll call vote.
Daniel Bedecker,
Aye.
Jim Connors,
Aye.
Dave DeFlameri,
Aye.
Heather Donaldson Gladue,
Aye.
Steve Munson,
Aye.
Lisa Tryon,
Aye.
Julie Valvo,
Aye.
Brendan Magnan.
Aye. Motion is carried unanimously. So at this time, the agency can begin deliberation on the options that we have before us, which include denying the application, approving the original plan, approving alternate 1, or approving alternate 2. And of course, in typical fashion, Mary Rose has given us guidance on conditions that would be associated with each of those options. So from the commissioners, who would like to offer your perspective? Who would like to start?
I like the new plan where they've made the retaining wall and seeing the trees are diseased. In the end of this game, it's going to be no loss. It will be a plus to get the new trees.
Thank you, Mr. Connors. I agree it's going to be a net improvement now that we fully understand the current conditions as well. I had initial reservations when we first started this process about any destruction of the north property, but I do feel like Mr. Kenny's summation addresses the expectations of the agency in terms of the improvements in the design. Anyone else wishing to speak? Mr. Munson, Mr. DeFameri, Ms. Tryon? Who wants to speak next? We've obviously received a lot of information, so Mr. Munson. Go ahead, Mr. Munson, you have the floor.
Yeah, the one thing I would point out that I think Mr. Kenny mentioned was that on the, I guess it's the eastern side of that parking lot, they're putting in spruce trees. Over time, those trees will get very, the way the sun would be going on this. Over time, that will provide quite a bit of shade to the wetlands. So I think that's, you know, it wasn't mentioned, but that's a great tree to have. Very straight, very tall, over time, obviously, and pretty stable. So that's an aspect, that and removing those beech trees. I don't know about those beech trees either. I know Commissioner Bedecker mentioned that. I didn't know there was a problem with them. We had a problem with hemlocks a while ago, but and yeah, I think it's a pretty good plan. I think the way they're treating that parking lot is pretty good.
Thank you, Mr. Munson. Ms. Heather Donaldson-Gladue, you have the floor.
I have to agree with Jim and Steve. I think the plan looks great. I'm in favor for it, so I just wanted to express my feelings. I think they've made a lot of good improvements and looks like they're ready to go.
Thank you, Commissioner Gladue. Anyone else? Hearing none, then I will just weigh in. One additional point I'll make is, in summary, as I reflect on the process, again, we started with no predetermination from this agency, except to know that we had to follow the statutes. We have gone through a process of 6 hours of public hearing in addition to this evening. We've had numerous meetings that staff has had with the applicant, and the applicant is, in my view, responded very well to all the concerns that have been raised by the public. We've had a tremendous amount of public interest and great input from the team and the public. I commend Attorney Crusaden and his team for addressing all the concerns in the intentional way you've done that, and the iterative drawings that you've given, and the expert testimony of Mr. Kenny and Mr. Salva. So for me, I'm in favor of alternate 2. As I said in the last public hearing, I feel like the mandate that we have is to protect the wetlands, and in consideration of the other alternatives, alternative 2 is the best net improvement. It's actually a net improvement, except for the minor loss of wetlands, but the functions and values will be improving. So as far as I'm concerned, it's a big investment in the area, and it's actually going to be improvement to the adjacent area as well. So I'm in favor of that motion.
And I'm making a motion to approve alternate 2.
Please, do we have a motion for that? Do we have a second?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll second it.
Great. Thank you for that. We have a motion and a second. Mary Rose has prepared conditions for that option. Mary Rose, I would invite you to read those if you could, and then we'll discuss whether or not there's additional conditions that the agency would like to add on.
Okay, just reviewing that Mr. Connors has made, and Ms. Gladue has seconded a motion for 0305 and 325 subway based on plans for warehouse facility prepared by for RD Simto by Rose Tizzo, 9 sheets that were revised on the 17th. I'm sorry, the 18th of July this year. And you've stated your reasons on the record. I don't know if you want to restate those reasons. The permit conditions that were proposed and can be added to are standard conditions, and those including permittee must submit the following information within 90 days of final approval. a construction plan, including a no snow storage or push signage adjacent to wetlands, which we saw this evening, a spill control and prevention plan, a mitigation monitoring plan with goals and criteria to measure success of that plan, proposed stormwater and water quality system maintenance plan, spill prevention and cleanup plan, proposed mitigation monitoring bond, proposed permit construction bond, soil erosion sedimentation controls as outlined on the plans and in the Connecticut DEP 2002 erosion sedimentation control guidelines, must be installed and maintained on the site until the property is stabilized. Copies of sedimentation erosion control inspection logs signed by the permittee and the qualified inspector must be kept on site and submitted to the MIWA weekly and within 48 hours of a precipitation event. Compliance with the city engineer's requirements for stormwater. Stormwater treatment must be installed as approved on the plans unless any changes are approved in writing prior to making that change. Wetland notification to be placed on the as-built and in the property deed to give notification to property owners that permits are required from the MIWA to work on the site. Documentation to be submitted to the MIWA office prior to bond release. Construction bond to be calculated must be posted with the MIWA for soil erosion and sedimentation controls, wetland boundary markers, and an as-built showing finished 2-foot contours and locating all site structures. Mitigation monitoring bond to be calculated must be posted with the MIWA prior to site disturbance for mitigation plantings and a minimum of 5 years of mitigation monitoring by a professional wetland scientist, with reports to the MIWA twice a year for a minimum of 5 years. Report to include the status of the site and any recommended corrective actions or amendments to the mitigation plan for the best stabilization of the site. If there is recommended corrective action, there must be an inspection and a report by the professional wetland scientist within a week of the corrective action being taken. If the site has not met the criteria as outlined in the plan by or at the end of the year 5, the bond may be held for an additional 5 years or until such time as the site meets the design criteria, whichever is later, with reports continuing twice a year to confirm status. In constructing or maintaining any structure, facility, or conducting any activity authorized herein, the permittee shall employ best management practices to control stormwater discharges, to prevent erosion and sedimentation, and to otherwise prevent pollution of wetlands and watercourses. Best management practices include, but are not limited to, practices identified in the Connecticut Guidelines for Soil Erosion Sedimentation Control, as revised, and the 2004 Stormwater Control Manual. Stormwater Quality Manual, I'm sorry. The permittee must submit a certification by the project engineer that the completed project meets the design intent of the approval prior to bonds being released. Permit is issued 7/19/23 and expires 7/19/28 unless otherwise provided by statute. And I've left room if the commission had additional motions, conditions they would like.
Thank you, Mary Rose, for reading that into the record. As the agency is contemplating this motion, are there additional conditions that you may have wanted to hear that you didn't hear that may need to be added or considered? I'll give everyone another moment. This is a very large application. Please keep in mind all of the factors that we've discussed. Mary Rose, I think you've done a good job of laying out the conditions based on your expertise and your experience in this matter. I do not see any additional. I think you've got the stormwater. I think you've got this, the snow.
Well covered.
Talked about. I think it's well covered. Okay, hearing no additions.
Wait, I have one question.
I'm sorry, we're in the middle of a deliberation. As a point of order, you're not recognized. To the agency, any additional conditions that you would like to see? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Daniel Bedecker,
Aye.
Jim Connors,
Aye.
Dave DeFlameri,
Aye.
Heather Donaldson Gladue,
Aye.
Steve Munson,
Aye.
Lisa Tryon,
No.
Julie Valvo,
Aye.
Brendan Magnan.
Aye. Lisa, can you just recap the roll call?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 in favor, 1 against.
Thank you. The motion carries. At this time, I'd like to thank the public for all of your attention in this process and thank the applicant and his team for your participation in the process.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Cinto, did you want to be recognized?
Yeah, thank you very much. To begin with, thank you very much for the vote. I think we have a great plan. And I would like to tell the commissioners that when I go to zoning, I'm going to go in and offer to do that improvement to the pond as part of my application. So some of your commissioners who were interested in that, we're going to execute that plan if we get our approvals. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cinto, for all of your investment in this process. Good luck on your next step. Mr. Alipop, even though we have closed the public hearing, I'm going to just ask if you have a question that I can answer.
Well, is it true that and correct that Subway currently maintains the trail around the pond?
Through you, Mr.
Mary
Chair.
Bird, you want to address that question?
Yeah, I think at times Subway has had Make a Difference Day where they've done work on the pond. Around on the trail, put down wood chips and had their workers come out and do a Make a Difference Day kind of work, clearing and stuff like that. That's not up for debate this evening. That project is not, that site is not under review tonight.
Great, thank you.
Sure. At this time, I'd like to again thank the public, and then Mary Rose, do you want a 5-minute recess in order to get the next portion of our agenda in order? As in, there's a gentleman that you mentioned to me that you need to make sure is joining.
Right, we can do a 5-minute recess, or unless you want to reorder and do the last 2 sets of minutes, and then hopefully I can have him on.
Okay,
Why don't we just do that?
Let's do that. So at this time, I'd like to entertain a motion to move the agenda so that we cover items F and item F at this time. While Mary Rose
I'll
is,
make that motion.
thank you.
And I'll second that.
Second, any discussion? Hearing none. Lisa, roll call vote.
Daniel Bedecker,
Aye.
Jim Connors,
Aye.
Dave DiFlameri. Aye. Heather Donaldson Gladue,
Aye.
Steve Munson,
Aye.
Lisa Tryon,
Aye.
Julie Valvo,
Aye.
Brendan Magnan.
Aye, thank you. So consideration of the minutes for 6/21, so June 21st and July 5th. Both of those minutes have been presented. So we will need a motion for the June 21st meeting first, and then we'll need a motion for the July 5th because we'll have various folks that have had to abstain. So do I have a motion for the first?
I'll make that motion.
And I'll second that.
Great. And we're now voting on the June 21st.
I have a question, Brandon, on that, if I may.
Yes.
I watched it on video. Can I still vote on it, or
Yes.
should I just
Yes.
abstain?
No, you can vote.
Okay,
Thank
I'll
you.
make the motion for July 25th.
June 21st, we're
June
on.
21st.
I did that
June
first,
21st.
Yeah, okay.
So
Okay.
Lisa, roll call vote.
Yes. Daniel Bedecker,
Aye.
Jim Connors,
Aye.
Dave DiFlameri,
Aye.
Heather Donaldson Gladue,
Aye.
Steve Munson,
Aye.
Lisa Tryon,
Aye.
Julie Valvo,
Aye.
Brendan Magnan.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. We have now, do we have a motion to approve the minutes from the July 5th meeting?
I'll make that motion.
And I'll second that.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. Lisa, roll call vote.
Daniel Bedecker,
Aye.
Jim Connors,
Aye.
Dave DiFlameri,
Aye.
Heather Donaldson Gladue,
Aye.
Steve Munson,
Aye.
Lisa Tryon,
Aye.
Julie Valvo,
Aye.
Brendan Magnan.
Aye. Thank you. Motion carries also unanimously, I believe. Yes? Okay. And now we have concluded section F. Mary Rose, shall we proceed with section G, or do we have?
I believe we can go back to section E.
Mary Rose, can you introduce section E, please? New business.
Sure. I'm just gonna throw up a photo so you can all understand where we are. Give me just a second. There we go. All righty. Are you all seeing that?
Yes.
All righty. Okay, this is IW 23005. It's 1 Avalon Drive. In the past, many of you may have known it as Avalon at Milford. It has changed hands and is now Marion Residential. This is a violation that was issued on Monday, 7/17/23 to Marion Residential for clearing work in and within 100 feet of a wetland and watercourse in the Indian River watershed. Based on a complaint, the zoning officer and I met Jim Capasso from Capasso Landscaping on site on Monday afternoon after speaking with the district manager for Marion, Tom Capra. And this site was developed back in 2003, 2004 by Avalon Bay under MIWA permit 980084. The vegetation and plantings that were approved under the 98 plan between the recreation center and the pool area and Woodmont Brook, which is the darker area on the bottom of the screen, were removed and the soil was open. Silt fence has been installed up gradient of the stream and a portion of the way, and up to the remaining vegetated area. The erosion controls are now in and stabilizing this area. I spoke with Mr. Capra and Mr. Capasso about options that they have. Mr. Capra couldn't come this evening. Mr. Capasso is here. And I issued an order requiring that they hire a soil scientist, delineate the wetland as it's been a bit of time, submit a survey for this area, and submit a proposed mitigation plan. The agency can look at doing that. I think Mr. Capasso has another proposal for plantings and stabilization of the site. The area is irrigated, so they would be able to begin planting even though we are in a drier season.
Anything additional, Mary Rose?
Nope, I can show you the pictures if I can find them from our site walk on Monday, which is here. So this is the front of the site near, this is Woodmont Road. And this area here is a culvert that carries Woodmont Brook under Woodmont Road. This is looking up gradient from that back towards the recreation building. The pool's behind the recreation building, so it's off to the left here. Woodmont Brook is behind this silt fencing. This is just looking at the slope to the left of the, the right of the recreation building. When we were there on Monday, they hadn't finished the silt fence. The silt fence now covers the area to prevent erosion. Just looking back again towards Woodmont Road, that culvert's over here. As you can see, there was some issues with this tree. It's got a hole in the center. Here I'm standing in the back next to the existing vegetated area. The recreation building's to my right, and we're facing Woodmont Road. The brook is over in this area. You may note this willow tree that is hanging at about a 45-degree angle. It's hanging over the creek. They would like to remove that and get that out of there so that it doesn't block the culvert in the event of a storm. And this is a little bit, not a great close-up of that tree. The brook kind of runs around in here and just meanders over to the culvert. And that's an even closer shot of the uprooted willow tree and the culvert. Does anybody have any questions?
Thank you, Mary Rose. Before we open it up for questions, I'd like to ask Mr. Capasso to, this is Chairman Magnin. Mr. Capasso, can you acknowledge your presence in the meeting?
Yes, hi, this is Thomas Capasso, Capasso Landscaping LLC.
Okay.
Do you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you
Yes.
fine. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Anything
Yes, and
you'd like to add to the record?
I'm sorry?
Is there anything you'd like to add to the record in addition to what Mary Rose already presented?
Yeah, she pretty much stated everything. What we would like to do is, you know, upon your approval, is resume removing the pile of debris you see in the picture and stabilize the ground by planting grass, you know, as soon as possible, you know, to prevent any erosion. And then what we'd like to do is basically the site plan, the original site plan from, I believe it was like 1999 that Mary Rose gave me, right there. We'd basically like to reinstall most of the plantings. All the plantings were not installed. You know, they overplanted in this plan and it definitely was not all installed. And then over the last, you know, 20 so years, invasives and, you know, vines and dead trees and, you know, everything grew and was not maintained. So it doesn't look like anything that could have been planted there, you know, is still there. But we would like to basically put back what's proposed in this original plan to stabilize the ground.
Okay.
If that works, you know, works for you guys. And I'm hoping that would probably be our best solution. And that would also, you know, make my client happy because they would have visibility to the road. That was the whole purpose of doing this. They wanted to have more visibility. It was, you know, very unsightly, and a lot of dead trees were, you know, lying around, and the sidewalk access was actually being blocked as well as the vines and trees were growing up into the power lines and over the sidewalk. And it was just it was a big mess over there. So that was the whole reason for clearing this area. It started off with just taking down a few trees and it kind of grew.
Okay, is there any
Just to
reason?
give you a background, you know, of
Yeah, not to dwell on this point, but I think everyone in the room may want to know what's the reason for not coming before the agency before starting the process.
Honestly, it was really just doing some tree work and landscaping, and you know, the project just kind of quickly grew. There's new owners over there, and they kind of just pushed to start clearing the area, and you know, they didn't realize, and neither did I, that there was, you know, the stream over there, and you know, next thing you know, we were clearing, and here we are.
Okay.
So no, I do understand we do need a permit, and I wish we had gotten one prior, but we would like to, you know, we have no problem getting a permit and doing whatever's needed to stabilize the area and, you know, get this resolved as quickly as possible.
Okay, thank you. Mary Rose, what do you think of the approach that was just suggested using this original plan? What are your thoughts?
Through you, Mr. Chair. I'll have to look through the old photos. This exact plan may not have been put in place. But Avalon Bay did plant quite extensively over in here. They may have substituted out some of these plantings just because of availabilities. So I can find those if you'd like. I think this plan may work. I'm not sure if we want to grass and maintain in here, or you want the initial idea they had was for like a grassed meadow adjacent to the stream.
Correct. Yes, we do want to do
I
that.
mean,
Yeah,
I think
great.
stabilization is important. Habitat values are important to put this back. These were some significant trees, as you can see from the aerial view we looked at earlier. that have been lost. I can see, if you can see where my cursor is on the screen next to this 3-story building number 1, this area is nearly impenetrable with vegetation. There's a lot of vines. These original plantings, I remember inspecting them, so I know they're there. It's just, I think there was neglect for maintaining them over the three or four ownerships it switched between. And so the grass area is gone and it's quite dense.
Correct.
So, I mean, maybe I'll just say this, maybe others have a view, but it sounds like we're okay with removing those invasives and the invasives, but we do need a sort of a proper plan to approve. So I don't know if the applicant needs to, or the owners need to come before us with, I don't know the viability of referring to an old plan. I think, a current plan needs to be presented to us.
Through you, Mr. Chair. The concern with this plan is these wetlands were flagged probably in 96, 97, maybe 98. There's been some time that's passed. This wetland may have changed its location. And so knowing the edge will give us what plants will survive there now, rather than guessing at it with a 20-something-year-old plan.
So at this point, other thoughts from the agency hearing this for the first time this evening? We're all responding to this. So
I have a question. How open is that brook area for that brook to flow to that culvert? Is that filled in or is it pretty distinctive?
It's not very deep. It's more wide. Trying to find the best shot. It's really difficult to see in this photo, the darker dirt.
Yes.
And I had in the rain gauge at my house over 4 inches of rain from this weekend. So the darker dirt is kind of where the water's flowing. Sorry to scroll your screen. You've got it around here by the willow, but you can see it's not entrenched.
Right. My question being,
a little deeper over here.
Would it be advantageous while this is opened up to enhance that brook area for flow with riprap or whatever? I'm not trying to engineer the job, but to give it a decisive area to run, especially in a heavy rain, and it'll cut down on the erosion.
And I think to that point, we need somebody to look at this, that the professional.
Oh yeah, somebody with more experience, an engineered plan.
Yeah, I think you're just echoing the sentiment that I was kind of feeling. So, Mr. Capasso, you're kind of a proxy to the owners. I think what you're hearing from us is we need you and the owners to come before us with the plan.
Okay, so you need an engineered plan and a wetlands scientist to flag it.
Yes, delineation. That's right.
Sorry, let's stop that share so you can see us.
Okay.
It's consistent with Mary Rose's notice that she already sent. I think we're affirming that.
Yep. Understood. Okay. So, okay, I'll let the owners know that we, need to hire those two people. In the meanwhile, would it be okay if I removed the rest of the pile of debris that showed Mary Rose that's in, away from the stream, kind of? She knows what I'm talking about. It's probably in the picture too. There's a pile of like vines and stuff.
I think Mary Rose, I think that's okay.
Right. There's an area you can see in this picture that's grubbed out roots and things.
Yeah, right there. Yep. There you
go. That can be removed. I think they also wanted that willow tree that had that tree that had the hollowed out centers. They wanted to bring that stump down to the ground to make stabilization a little bit easier.
Yep. Yeah, that'd be great. Now, would it be okay if we topsoiled and grassed this area for now to get some stabilization? I just don't want any erosion. I want to stabilize this as soon as possible. prior to planting and stuff. Would that be okay with you guys?
Topsoil and grass would stabilize at this time. Only difficulties with that is you may wind up with grass continually to come up in wetland areas that you're not gonna mow in the future. It will probably take, to get the plans we're asking for, it will probably take us the rest of the summer to get that information out. So with irrigation, they could probably establish grass in this area in a week or two.
Yeah, and I think that would be the best.
I think that's a good idea.
Than leaving it open,
Yeah.
And then,
sorry.
that gives us time to, or the owner time to come before us, and we can review the plans and iterate on those if we need to. So, yeah, I think that's fine.
Okay. Great. Thank you very much.
Anything additional we need to consider, Mary Rose, or if not, we'll move on?
I had my initial order had shorter dates in August to get information back to us. So we probably need to modify the dates for those things.
That sounds right.
I probably could have shortened this motion up a little bit, but and you also want to add items to allow the property owners to remove the stockpile on site and to straw and seed, topsoil, straw and seed to stabilize the site while we were getting this information. Right?
Yes. And I think we need to allow whatever reasonable amount of time it is to hire those experts. I can imagine that's probably a 4 to 6 week process.
Yeah, I
Probably
think
another
that's probably close. Yeah.
4 to 6 weeks after that to get the plans. So,
all right. So the initial order had hire soil scientists by 8/1. I think it's reasonable in a 2-week period to be able to find and hire a person. Their report would come much later. By August 30 to 31st to submit a survey. That was time to meet our first September meeting. That might be optimistic for getting a survey and report out of a company. Do you want to move that date to at least 2 weeks later?
I think it's only prudent.
Okay,
I think the August 1st date is aggressive.
All right. So if we change that August 1st to the 14th, that would get it in time for our meeting on the 16th.
Yeah, and if for any reason, I guess we can always change it if we had to.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah. Why don't you do August 10th?
Okay.
Just so we have it in ample time before the meeting as opposed to last,
Gotcha. And submittal of the survey and engineering information by second meeting in September is the 20th. By the 14th.
Yeah. No later than the 14th is really
Right.
what I'm pressed.
Okay. And that September 14th date would also be an appropriate time to receive the mitigation plan proposal from the soil scientist. So they can both come in at the same time.
Correct.
They can remove the stockpile on site. They can topsoil, seed and straw to stabilize. And they have to acquire any other outstanding permits to do this work.
Sounds like we've got the essence of the motion.
All righty.
Do you wanna-
Motion?
Do you want to present the motion? If Mr. Connors, you sound like you want to make the motion. Do you want to have Mary Rose read them?
Pardon?
Do you want to make the motion and then Mary Rose can read it into the record?
Yes, I'll make the motion for this violation.
I'll second that.
So we have a motion for the violation to be upheld and modified,
Yes,
to require the property owner to comply with the conditions that Mary Rose is about to read. And it's been seconded by Commissioner Donaldson Ledoux. Mary Rose?
By 8/10/23, hire a certified soil scientist or professional wetland scientist to determine the current limits of the wetlands and watercourses on the property and to submit a report on the status of those wetlands. No later than 9/14/23, submit an A2 survey with T2 accuracy, performed, signed, and sealed by a professional licensed land surveyor in the state of Connecticut, showing the following information at a minimum for the disturbed area: existing site conditions, property boundaries, including all easements. Wetland line is delineated by a certified soil scientist or professional wetland scientist. Limits of recent wetland disturbance and any FEMA flood zone lines. No later than 9/14/23, submit a detailed mitigation and planting plan for review and approval by the MIWA to restore and stabilize the wetland and watercourse. Plan to be designed by a professional wetland scientist and include at a minimum stabilization of soil, planting native vegetation into the disturbed area, proposed timeline for execution of the mitigation plan to plant and stabilize the disturbed area, including 3 years of twice-a-year monitoring by a professional wetland scientist, draft planting and mitigation monitoring bond calculation, bond to be posted to guarantee that the shrubs live for 3 years and monitoring reports are completed in a timely manner. Outline of the responsibilities of the property owner for watering and maintenance of plantings to ensure survival. Property owners can remove the stockpile on site. Topsoil, seed and straw to stabilize the site while waiting on the requested information. Property owners shall obtain all permits, including but not limited to inland wetland planning and zoning and building that may be required to resolve and legitimatize the site work. Does the agency want to include in item number 3, plan to be designed by a professional soil scientist and engineer?
yes.
Correct.
Thank you.
Anything else, Mary Rose, on the draft?
That is the motion.
That is the motion. Okay, we have a motion on the table. Do we have any discussion on the motion? Hearing no discussion, Lisa, roll call vote.
Daniel Bedecker,
Aye.
Jim Connors,
Aye.
Dave DiFlameri,
Aye.
Heather Donaldson Gladue,
Aye.
Steve Munson,
Aye.
Lisa Tryon,
Aye.
Julie Valvo,
Aye.
Brendan Magnan.
Aye, motion carries unanimously. Mr. Capasso, thanks for coming this evening. Mary Rose will be issuing this in the form of an updated violation to the owner. We appreciate your testimony this evening and your support.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your help.
Thank you. Good
Have
luck.
a nice night.
Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Property. Thank you. Mary Rose, moving on to staff report. Do you want to mention anything worth highlighting on this evening, or?
We've got several as-built that I have received. I need to do a couple of site walks so I can begin the release of those items. And those are 16 Marsh Street, 1553 Boston Post Road, which is the Splash Car Wash, and 690 New Haven Avenue, which is the apartments. And 33 Pearl Street. They finally finished their stormwater. So I need to get those done. Otherwise, we've had a number of random complaints and violations that we're prepping. I don't have any other big applications on the table for you after the one we completed this evening.
Okay, thank you, Mary Rose. Moving on to Chair's report, just as a show of hands, is there anyone, I'm hearing that there may be a couple unable to attend on the August 2nd meeting. I know I'm going to be unable to attend. Is there anyone else who's unable to? Okay. It may be wise to cancel that meeting. So I'll leave that up to Mary Rose. She'll make that call based on whether or not there's any activity that we need to entertain and if we may have a quorum, but just look out for an email from Mary Rose probably in the few days preceding to the meeting. Otherwise, thanks again for everybody's deliberation over the last several meetings. It's been a lot of work, a lot of thoughtful consideration, and appreciate that. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second and a third.
Daniel Bedecker,
Aye.
Jim Connors,
Aye.
Dave DiFlameri,
Aye.
Heather Donaldson Gladue,
Aye.
Steve Munson,
Aye.
Lisa Tryon,
Aye.
Julie Valvo,
Aye.
Brendan Magnan.
Aye, motion carries. Meeting's adjourned. Have a good evening, everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Good night.
Night.
Mary Rose,
Lindsay,
thank you
we're
very
done.
much. Mary Rose, I meant to say again, thanks for all your help on this whole process. Been great.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a lot for all of you to sit through and deal with, but thank you for the time and the deliberation.
Thank you. All right. Talk to you later.
All right. Good night, everyone.